Da 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 Oh, sorry. Hey folks, it's Douglas, otherwise known as The Last Holdout, giving you all a shout out from the Five Mad Heathens collab channel, where we will shortly be joined by Origin. Yay! And we still have Andrew, Lightspeed555, yes! And I'm answering Sophia's question of the week, brain discovering. Oh yeah! Anyway, Sophia posed three very interesting questions, which I will attempt to answer as best I can. I did try to put some thought into them, more thought than I have in a long, long time. Questions that I honestly have somewhat tried to avoid because the answers that I've come up with kind of scare the hell out of me. But anyway, that's personal, emotional things, and whether or not the truth is unpleasant does not make it any less the truth. So, starting out, Sophia's first question. How do we make decisions? I'm going to have to go from a biological standpoint on this one. From a purely biological standpoint, we make decisions based on a series of biochemical reactions that take place in our brains. Can't go too much deeper into that unless I would actually explain all the processes that take place that, in our brains that cause brain activity, cranial activity. So, on to the next question. What influences our choices? There are innumerable factors which influence our choices. The main influences are, of course, embedded in our personality and our personal preferences and prejudices. Other factors may include the environment, the opinions of others, and the amount of pressure we happen to be under. So, for instance, if you're driving down a road or a highway and your friends say, hey, and friends are with you and they say, where do you want to go, McDonald's or Burger King? And you sit there and you're like, oh shit, what do we do? So you're the one driving, so you have to make the decision. You're the one who makes the final choice. So personal factors may include your past experiences at one or the other, whether or not you happen to see bugs crawling all over the bathroom hallway when the lights got shut off and turned back on a few seconds later, whether or not you like the food, stuff like that. How does your own personal self react to the thought of eating at one or the other? Environments, how hungry are you? Which have you had most recently? Stuff like that. Other people's preferences and opinions. Of course, this depends on to what degree you really want to please your friends and whether or not they like McDonald's or Burger King or both or neither. So then there's the last major factor which we can determine would be the amount of pressure you happen to be under, whether or not you still have a half hour before you've actually got to make the final decision because you're driving down the highway, or whether or not you're at a busy intersection, you've got to go right to get to McDonald's, left to go to Burger King, and you have to make the decision in about 30 seconds because that's when the light changes and you have to go because traffic is backed up. And I can tell you for a fact that, and I think most people would agree, the amount of pressure you are under can have a very, very great influence on your decisions because some people can make snap decisions that they would otherwise later regret. Anyway, so that said, the final, most important question, the one I've thought hardest about, the one I'm not sure I can satisfactorily answer, is what is free will and do we have it? Phew. Okay, so this is how I can best describe free will. And again, I'm kind of reading from my computer screen over here, just so you guys know. Free will is the ability to make cognitive choices disconnected from causal laws. i.e., one that an omniscient entity, all-knowing entity, could not, in theory, predict. And my decision on whether or not we have it, based on what we know, it is not possible to conclusively declare that we have free will. Can't totally discount it at this point. However, I'm going to go the atheist route and say until we know for sure that we have it, until we've got proof that we have it, I'm going to have to say we probably don't. However, and this is the biggie, this does not mean that people cannot be held responsible for their actions, because some factors, such as their intrinsic traits, brain activity going on in there, influence their decisions. This means that if they are a murderer or other bastard, whether or not they can help it or not is irrelevant, and they are still a potentially dangerous person or bastard until they can prove that the part of them which drove them to kill or be a bastard has been effectively neutralized. In other words, if there's part of somebody, some kind of brain imbalance that causes somebody to act a certain way, unless that's been changed, then they can still potentially act that certain way. If it's a largely negative way to act, then they're still going to act in that negative way, which still makes them dangerous. I don't know if you guys are following me here. So bottom line is, you still got to hold people responsible for their actions, because it's still them that is making the final decision. Whether or not there are other factors influencing them, there's still that part of the brain activity that's causing that decision to take place. Anyway, that's all I really have to say on the subject. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for my question this upcoming week. However, I do promise that I will try to make it juicy, yet answerable. Have yourselves all a good night, and Maria, less than 3.